Good morning and welcome to the Hardcore Mortgage Show, brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding, powered by CMG. We are an MLS number of 1820, an equal housing lender. We got 1 hour of all the real estate, life talk, the things in this Valentine's Day weekend, frozen tundra, winter weather warning. Harry, what is going on?
What's up, everybody? Hi. Good morning, everybody. Glad to have some great guests in the studio. I'll let Becky introduce them. The however is day after Valentine's Day. Hope you treated the people that you love in your family and in your life very well. No, you don't need somebody to remind you every February 14th to do that, but it's a nice reminder. I like it. Go out to dinner, have some fun. Anyways, yeah, Beck, glad to be with you. Harvey is on vacation, well-deserved vacation, and he's coming back next week. But in the meantime, let's go to our guests.
Listen, we have some Titans in the studio with us. They're no strangers to the spotlight. They have their own podcast, Real Push. He's going to be on October Best, Mr. Bernard Shamow, right?
That's right,
Shamow. Sorry. But you got your podcast. You have your top producers, powered by EXP. So we are joined by Bernard Shamow.
That's right. That's
Shamow.
okay.
Jesus.
Yeah, we're rolling.
And Dominic Shaba. Sorry. Yep. How are you guys doing? Welcome to the studio. And I don't think I butchered someone's name knowing what their real answer is that many times in a row in my entire life.
Didn't butcher it at all. We are so thrilled to be here. Happy Valentine's Day to the both of you.
Thank you for having us on.
Thanks for having us on. Excited to be here. Talk all things mortgages and all things real estate. Super pumped. Frozen tundra, but we're going to keep it nice and hot in here.
Yes, it is. And speaking of hot, it is getting hot in the real estate market. And I want to get into it because this is probably the fastest hour in radio, in our lives. It goes by so fast because there's so many things that we have to get into. And I know our listeners love the expert advice that we bring into the studio. And shout out to Mr. Lloyd Saylor. He is a longtime listener. I actually talked to him last night. We might be doing some, transaction for him. But, the everyday consumer is dialed in. They want to know what's happening. And it's that same taboo, like table talk at, holiday parties, elevators, elevator kind of questions. But the one thing that I get most often is what's going on in the real estate market.
Yeah. Well, shout out to Lloyd as well.
Yes.
Hope you guys can work on that transaction. Becky, Harry, I think the main premise for the real estate market is supply and demand is undefeated. I think the buyers are absolutely ready to buy. They are at a point where they realized interest rates have probably stabilized and this thing is not letting off the gas. I know you guys have talked about it since the COVID push. There is no homes, and I think at the end of the day, the pride of ownership and home equity is a big deal. We're already starting to see the buyers come out in full force. We know what happens in March when March rolls around, and the market isn't going nowhere. It's not to scare the buyer, but it's to prepare the buyer for what to expect. It's going to be sizzling market. It's going to be rapid. It's going to be fluid as we head into 25.
There's a lot less talk about people waiting now. There's no, I don't hear it. I don't hear the talk about, right? I don't hear about, well, we're going to wait. We're going to wait because there's no waiting anymore because the rates are what they are.
Yep.
I mean, you saw what happened the other day. I mean, inflation is a little bit on the rise. Economy's starting a little bit to slow down. There's no need right this second for the Federal Reserve to do anything with rates. So what's happening is the market stabilized. People have gotten used to it, and there's no more waiting talk. I'm going to wait till rates come down. I'm going to wait till it's springtime. I'm going to wait till after the holidays.
Figured it out.
There's no waiting anymore because, as we talked about it, if you continue to wait, supply and demand is undefeated, like you said. And what's going to happen to housing prices? They go up. So if you continuously wait, we talked about it last week on the show. We talk about it all the time. Yeah, if you want to pay more, wait. Right? If you want to pay more, just wait more and you'll pay more. I mean, that's it. So there's less talk about waiting.
No, yeah. And I actually oddly enough, I took a call. He went to an open house. He's looking to purchase a brand new home. He actually said he's been renting for the last 18 years. And he said, you know what, Becky? He's like, I was planning on buying my dream home. But you know what happened? I waited so long, I now can't even touch my dream home because it's priced out.
Yeah.
And that's really what's happening is, and it's not so much we talked about rates. We're going to get into the rates and the, refinances and things like that a little bit later. But the truth is that the rate doesn't matter because as you're waiting for these rates to drop in that perfect storm, the housing market has appreciated. And that same house, even last year, like we were talking about, it's already priced out. You can't even afford it. So he was planning on paying cash. Now we're going to be doing some financing. And, I was like, it's time for you to, get your hat in the ring because we talk about, where you're at. Housing is not going down. And you know what else isn't going down? Rent.
Yeah.
And it's about divorcing rent. And I have a lot of friends of mine that are in the rental market because it makes sense for them right now. But it's just as difficult, if not more difficult, to get into a rental right now. So we're having these conversations of how can we unpack that? How can we set you up? How can you get into the real estate market? Because we all know that is the long game. That is always going to be the American dream.
So if you take a ride around metropolitan Detroit and you take a look at new construction right now, you're going to see a lot of apartments being constructed. Now, why do you think that is? Okay, you want to know why? Because these landlords, they can go ahead and command high rents, and there's a lack of single family residences out there, and that's the supply and demand aspect. So if you're going to continue to rent, you're going to pay somebody else a lot of money to rent. And we have down payment assistance programs, Becky, that you can get into. Becky can get you into. If there's a will, there's a way. If there's a sliver of hope, Becky will get you into a home so you don't have to pay rent, right?
I like that. Awesome. If there's a sliver of hope, and that is true, because we will find that line, and the truth is, and that's what makes you, and like, Bernard and Dominic, that's what makes you professionals, is we find that line, we find that way, we see something in people that they can't see for themselves. And I take a lot of pride in that, and being a part of someone's forever moment, right? It's a milestone moment when you're turning someone's house into a home for them.
So Bernard, people don't know what they don't know. So if they think that they can't get into a home, all they have to do is make a call to you, to Becky, to Dominic, to a realtor out there, and you've got to make that call, because if there's a sliver of hope, there's a chance. And what we're talking about is not getting people into homes that can't make the payment. All right, that was 1998, 1999, 2000, 2001. That's what other lenders did. But what we're talking about is that if you can make a payment, the old adage is, if you can make a $1,500 rent payment, can't you make a $1,500 house payment? Now, there are little things that come with that too, which we can get into. But the bottom line is, if you're making a rent payment, you can make a house payment if you just have very little money down, right?
Yes, absolutely. Down payment assistance is huge. But it's also circumstantial, right? My story is not the same as your story, right? And you're
100%.
not doing something because someone's brother, sister's cousin twice removed is doing something. When does it make time to buy a house?
100%.
When does it make sense to buy a house?
It makes sense for you to buy a house when it makes financial sense for you to buy a house.
Yes.
Harry nailed it.
That's true.
And just to peel some of that back, that's spot on. We talked about being a part of that American dream, if you want to call it, buying the home, which is what it is. It starts with talking to your lender, talking to Becky, talking to Harry. If it makes financial sense for you, and if it's made financial sense for you, go buy that house. Get that appreciation. Have the pride of home ownership. And Harry, you talked about rents, and Becky did too, talked about rents going up. They're probably up 25% in the last year or so. You see a lot of apartment buildings going up. Dominic and I represent a lot of builders as well. Well, we represent 3 builders. Those guys can't build fast enough either.
Right, yeah,
maybe we could talk about a construction, a loan product for those guys.
Yeah.
But that's exactly right. If you have that consultation with your loan officer and you understand that the finances make sense, make the move.
Coaching, for sure. Coaching your clients about what's going on. A lot of them don't know what's happening in the industry right now, or that have down payment assistance, or a realtor can break things down for you on how the house is, or your follow-up. Say they can't get a mortgage right now, but you follow up with them. You set them on the right path of how to set things together, right? You follow up in 6 months, and now they can. So a lot of it to me is coaching and educating the clients about the industry and what's going on live right now, because people might think they know off of the internet and off Facebook about what people are talking about.
Well, that's why I opened us up to what is the real estate market, air quotes, everyone on Facebook Live, right? Because that is a general question, but depending on who you ask is going to be the answer. Because even people that are in the industry, Becky, what's going on with the market? I know they're asking me because they're not busy.
Forever changing, yeah.
Because they're not busy. And that's the only thing that stays the same in real estate and in life is change.
Well, the thing is, how much does it cost somebody to call us up and say, hey, can you take a look at my profile? We put out a plan for people. It costs you $0.
That's right.
Okay, it's nothing out of pocket. We don't take any money. I don't want your money up front. I don't. I'm not taking a Visa. I'm not taking a check. You call other lenders to run a pre-approval. They want a credit card. No. Forget about that. We have to go ahead, and Becky knows the drill every single day. We'll check it out for you. We will counsel and advise you, and we will put you on a plan. It could take 6 weeks. It could take 6 months. It could take a year.
Yeah.
And we work with people over the years and their families. So don't write checks and don't give your Visa card over the phone.
Well,
Just don't do it.
is, and I know you gentlemen are the same way. We're going to tell someone no.
Of course.
But it's
I
not,
will.
but the
Wow.
no is not, it just means not right now. It's not if, it's when. And
sure.
if I'm looking at someone and someone's calling me, they want to refinance and they just bought their house last year and I'm looking at their rate and their profile, the answer is no. And I'm going to say, and I'm going to tell them why. This doesn't make sense for you in this particular situation. And I'm going to have a same call, a slightly different situation. And then the answer is yes. I can see where this is going. I can see where this is going to help you in 5, 6, 7 years down the road. This is a good move for you. But it's having that expertise and who you work with matters, because that's really what's going to set the people up for success.
Yeah. Run those numbers. You got to run the numbers. You got to do the math. Somebody will call you and say, hey, Harry, is it time to refinance? I said, let me run the numbers for you. If it makes sense for you to do it and we can save you money, then that's when you should do it. Not just because it's in vogue, okay? People say, let's do this, let's do that. You have to do what's best for your situation. And thankfully, we've been allowed to do that for a lot of people over a lot of years. So we like to say we've saved thousands of families, millions of dollars. And we have tens of thousands of families, millions of dollars.
That is a badge I proudly wear on my shoulder right alongside you. And that is the sound of our first break. I'm really excited. We got a lot to unpack. I want to get into the new construction. We're going to talk about the refinance application. So keep it locked in. We're going to take all your calls, 248-539-9797. Keep it locked in. We'll be right back. Welcome back. You are listening to the Hardcore Mortgage Show, brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding. We are powered by CMG, MLS number 1820, Equal Housing Lender. Got to get the compliance stuff out of there, and we are excited. We're going to be taking all your calls, 248-539-9797. We're about 8:15 right now, and we are just getting hot and heavy in here, talking about all the things that we got going on in real estate and life, and we are here to set you up for success with these amazing gentlemen that know what they're talking about. We got Bernard Shamow. And we got Dominic Shaba and live in studio. They're powered by EXP. And you're looking at some two top producers that are in here. So if you're watching us on Facebook Live, and if you're not, you should be. And if you're driving your car, please be safe. But, we want to hear from you because right now the market is changing, but it's been changing, but it's also staying at the same time, right? And before the break, we started dipping into a little bit of new construction. And I know you two are very ingrained and you know what's going on in the new construction market in Michigan. Now, if you take new construction outside of the state, because we are a national lender, we're very, very deep line straight down to Florida, as most of us do here in Michigan, but the inventory has changed there. It's switched where there's a little bit more inventory on the market for, buyers to have a little bit more of a say in some of these incentives. Yeah. And, they're predicting that some of these builders are going to have a pretty rough first quarter of the year because of the inventory. And they're trying to price these incentives to get these houses off the market. And what's cool about us is we now can actually have these finance options to help the builders move these houses. And I do think that obviously it's no secret. There was enough homes built from 2008 to 2015. That's not a secret, but the builders have stepped up, and that is going to be really the game changer of this inventory when it does start to balance out in Michigan. Because obviously we all know Michigan's the last to hit everything.
Yeah.
So what are you seeing right now with your new construction? Is there more people coming in, first-time buyers coming in there? What is your kind of narrative there?
Yeah, and by the way, that's a great breakdown, especially about Florida with them seeing that influx of inventory. And for new construction for us, it's exactly what you said. There was roughly a 5 million home shortage prior to COVID when it stopped, and a lot of those builders did stop. New construction is as healthy as it's been. In Michigan particularly, it's up 16% from just last year alone. And I think there is a desire for a new construction home. People want a new product. People want a new house. They're okay if they pay a little bit more. The price per square foot does cost a little bit more. Building materials.
What's the traffic that you're seeing right now in the middle of the winter? Tell us about the traffic pattern.
Yeah. I think any builder's happy if they sell 1 to 2 homes a month. We've exceeded that in our Shelby Township, our Sterling Heights communities, our Lake Orion communities. People want to get into new construction. And I think the reason it makes sense is a builder will build a spec home that's move-in ready within 90 days, or you get to customize it. You get to pick the selections. You get to pick the features. And if some people have that time frame, 10 months to build, then that makes sense.
Well, Bernard, Macomb's hot.
Macomb
County's hot.
Yeah.
Macomb's been hot the last 3-4 years, right?
Yep,
so
super hot.
So if you're building houses in Macomb County and people want to be there, it's just a hot market. It's a great market for us.
Yep.
And the homes are appreciating. And if you've got inventory out there, people want to live there.
They want to live there. We go past Macomb into Chesterfield. But Macomb has been super hot. And I think when it comes down to price per square foot and school district, Macomb has become super
popular.
popular.
They take the crown for that.
You guys have seen the patterns, right? Everybody wants to be in the Troys and Rochesters, and it started going east to the Shelbys, to the Macombs, to Oakland, Washington.
Yeah.
I think it was South Lyon there for a second, and then that's become just overly populated. And people are now moving out of
100%.
South Lyon now because they feel like they don't have that like country bumpkin like feel anymore because it's just overly just condensed. But the reality is affordability will remain to be a primary challenge for most homeowners right now. And with the new construction, I do feel that as inventory starts to change here nationally, we talk, you can see that builders are starting to have to get creative with their incentives for buyers but at the same time, as they're getting creative with these incentives for buyers, it is pushing more of a pressure on existing home sales because like you said, people want something new.
Yep.
They want something they can customize. That eye on the prize, it's a little bit more exciting to when you can come in there and be like, I want granite countertops and I want this and I want that. You can, if you are doing it the right way, you can literally just make it what you want, but you have to have those conversations. And, right now we actually do a lot with private builders too, because these private builders have to also compete with the Pulte's of the world and these like big box commercial lenders. These commercial builders where you can step in and do an end loan. So we also do draw loans as well, where you can buy your own piece of land. We can find you like you're going to get your contractor, and we can also help, some of these developments happen right from the rip.
Yeah, it sounds like I know, and us talking a little bit offline, you got some great construction products as well. You talked about the draw, you talked about the end loan, but just new construction in general. It is that piece of it may be a little bit more upfront, but the appreciation on those newer houses down the road certainly holds a lot of weight with first time home buyers or buy ups on the new construction.
Yeah, the step ups. So the thing that I want to get into about a new construction loan is there is a lot of hidden costs as well. Not the hidden costs, but you want to make sure you're with you have representation like these gentlemen in the room with us right now, because you have to read the contracts. Is that cost of lumber locked in? Or are they going to be pushing that cost to you? Landscaping, the trees, all these things that come after the dog and pony show leave the room, and you're looking at raked dirt, and you're the one that's got to put all that sod out there. You have to make sure you're allocating those funds to properly make sure that you are not like putting yourself in a position where you just put everything into the marble countertops and now you don't have enough money for the grass and things like that.
That's so good, Becky. That is so good. If you're looking at a base price of $600,000, I think the first thing Dominic and I do is educate that buyer on new construction. Look, exactly what you said. There may be sod and sprinklers. There may be appliances. There's additional closing costs. You need a deck. You need a patio. So if you're starting around 600, we educate that first-time home buyer. Here's where you may end up. And I think from a construction loan partner, such as Capital Mortgage, we'll talk to the lenders. We'll talk to the Harrys and the Beckys and say, hey, what does this look like when we put it all on paper? Is it going to appraise for that client? What do you guys recommend we do for our particular buyer? And that's just partnering with you guys and giving that buyer all that information they need. So there is no additional, I don't want to call them surprises, but they're fully aware of everything they're getting into.
Full disclosure and communication. Full disclosure, and you got to get to the end, okay? Somebody can say that they're going to buy a house for X, but what's it really going to cost all in? It's like when somebody's looking for an existing home and they go in and they like the price of the home. But you know what? You have to heat that house. Okay, heating, air conditioning, all the utilities. You've got landscape. What's it really cost to be in a house? And that's why you sit down with somebody and you have to have a plan. You have to have a budget. You've got to try to stick to it as much as you possibly can. And you've got to say, is this price range right for me? Is this payment right for me? So it works that way if you plan that way. There are a lot of people that they just buy a house because they think that, like we've been talking about, Becky, last couple of years, people said, we just got to get into a house.
Yeah.
Well, they regret that decision because they really didn't take that time. There are not a lot of houses on the market. They were lucky enough. When I say lucky, multiple offers. They were the highest bid. Somebody took the highest and best or whatever it is. And then they just got in, and now they're saying they have buyer's remorse.
Yeah, there's a lot of that actually happening right now. Like, in 2020, we called it FOMO. Someone's standing in line. I don't know what you're standing in line for. I want to stand in line too, and I'm going to buy this house because I think that's going to be the last house on the face of the planet. And then come to find out, people have bought these homes, and now the taxes have uncapped. They can't afford it. They're looking at, they're running up their credit cards just to afford the home. And so this is what we're talking about. Whether you're buying existing or new construction, we're having deep dive intimate conversations, not because we want to be invasive, but because we care. We do this for a living. Yeah. We're not just, doing this just for a facade. This is literally, we are ingrained. This is in our blood. We don't know how to be any other way.
Yeah. In 2022, I read a statistic. It was 70% buyer's remorse on that prior year. And 2021, if you were in the industry, it was a record year for a lot of people because of what COVID did. But there was 70% buyer's remorse. We had more conversations with our clients on not buying the house because it didn't make financial sense than buying the house at that time. Because to your point, Harry, the highest and best it was very common to go $50,000 above ask on a $500,000 house.
Yeah.
Like clockwork.
Yeah. And Bernard, what you're talking about, like we're having, and like on our side of things, we're having these conversations, and, even with the new construction, you have to shoot for the moon, right? If you land on a star, but you have to make sure that, like, I'd rather someone live at their means or even under their means than even at their means is really what the conversations are. And when you're talking about new construction specifically, you are going 1,000 miles an hour hitting a moving target. Because once they start seeing that marble, it's like, looking at your contract, they're like, okay, you can pick A, B, and C. Don't look at D over here. And then you do.
On the option side, when they come in for new construction, I mean, there's times they go up to like $100K in upgrades.
Minimum.
And they don't even know.
Just internal.
Just, I want that and that. And then you have to sit down and say, hey, like, maybe those custom 47-inch cabinets aren't really necessary. You should put that towards the landscaping.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to coach and like, hey, they'll dump a lot inside of the house to where it doesn't appraise, and then you have to coach them on stepping it back and maybe upgrading the outside.
Let's go with that.
Yeah, I want to stay there.
Let's go with that for a second. So right now, if people want to overpay for houses, that's up to them. I've got no problem with them as long as they know what they're doing. So then we go ahead and let's just say it appraises for $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 under, and it does happen. Yeah. So you have a purchase price, it appraises for $20,000 under. I call somebody up and I say, hey, listen, here's the story. I can go ahead and try to request, a reconsideration of value on this. There's a process. We do it all the time. All right, but I need
We're pretty good at it, by the way.
I need your help in showing me. I need a realtor, somebody showing me why this house is worth this. So primarily, we try to pull comparables in that subject area. This is all going to be mortgage nerd and real estate nerd talk here. Yep. All right, and to try to see if it's worth it. Sometimes it comes back where you can't make a move on the value, right? So I always say to the client, listen, it's up to you. If that house checks 8, 9, 10 of the boxes and you want to pay more for it, go ahead. That's up to you.
Yeah.
But this house is only appraising for X and you want to pay Y. Doesn't mean it's a bad deal. Yeah. It just means that's what you're going to pay and this is the value.
That's the difference between the price and value.
Right.
What you're willing to pay for something versus what it's worth. And I'm looking at something, and it's invaluable to me. So I'm going to pay it.
Correct.
Just like everyone that was buying in 2021 during that time, you couldn't tell nobody nothing during that time. Nobody nothing. They were like, I want it. I'm going to win.
If you want it, they're going to get it and you overpay for it. Okay. You can overpay for it, but there are a couple things that are not subjective. Appraisals and property values are subjective because appraisers think they're artists and they draw and they like it and it's all good. But you can't deny what the square footage is.
Yep.
You cannot deny what how big the lot is.
Yep.
And you can't deny what is sold in that subject area for the price it's sold at. Yep. And that's what value is, right?
Yeah, that's bulletproof, Harry. And I like what you said because I always tell my sellers, I say, look, the appraisers are human. They're 80% statistics, 20%,
feelings. Yeah, emotions. Yeah, they don't care.
Feelings.
Yeah, they're people too. And when we come, we're going to go up to this next break. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about new construction, but I want to move into the refinance, what the rates have been doing this week. So keep it locked in. 248-539-9797. We're going to take all your calls. We want to hear from you and keep it locked in. Welcome back. You're listening to the Hardcore Mortgage Show, brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding. I do like me some good Allens and Chains every now and then. Let's go.
Yeah, at 9 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, not even that, really, to be honest with you. We are joined by Bernard Shamow and Dominic Shaba of EXP. Super excited. Again, you can check them out. We're going to get into like where you can find them. They have their own podcast called The Real Push. These guys are legit. They're not just talking real estate. They're talking about life and everything. And I know, Bernard, you do your own wealth management as well, right? So is that
a little bit with my brother? My brother does, but yeah,
okay.
Yeah. We kind of got he's got that going on, but. I'm thank you for mentioning that.
Yeah.
Thank you for mentioning
Listen,
that.
I do my research.
Yeah.
I know what's going on because,
Yeah.
but the reality is this is why you're in the room with us. And for our listeners, these people that we bring in the studio week in and week out, they don't just walk the walk, they talk the talk, right? They say what they're going to do, they mean what they say, and they follow through with intentional action. So when you are sitting down with someone like Bernard and Dominic, and they're talking about your financial picture, they've done it. They see it. And they also can help you get to where you're going. Same with us. Like we do this day in, day out. Credit, I live and breathe and eat by it. And it's very important.
They'll give you an objective opinion.
Yes,
All right,
very objective.
They'll give you information, and then you formulate your own thought process on it, and you make the decision. If somebody is just giving you yes, 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 yes all the time, that's not somebody I want to talk to.
No.
I want somebody that's going to give me a little pushback, give me some information that I have to do my own analysis, because in the end, it's up to you to make that decision. So if you got somebody that's going to, oh yeah, no problem, no problem. If everything's no problem, then I got a problem.
Yeah.
All right. If everything's no problem, then I have a problem, because certain things come up. Everything in life isn't no problem. All right.
No.
Downside risk management. Okay. I want to know what the pitfalls are. The upside always takes care of itself. Give me the downside. Where are the risks here? Where am I falling off a cliff here? So when we go ahead and we counsel and advise somebody, we try to save them as much money up front as we can within their budget. Should they make this decision? Should they do that? Ultimately, we're providing the information, but they've got to make the decision. Remember this. If everything is no problem, then it's a problem.
Yes.
Yeah.
I kind of describe it as I am the backseat driver that talks a lot, right? I'm going to suggest which way you turn, but if you decide to go left instead of right, well, then we're going to be driving the stick shift for the first time and it might be a little bit bumpy, and then we're going to redirect ourselves to the correct path. I want to get into the mortgage applications this week. So if you looked at, I did some, analysis here. Refinance applications are up for the second week in a row, and that's because the interest rates have moved just a little bit down. And anytime they move even just a little bit down, you're going to see that huge uptick in refinance applications because, May of 2024 rates were a little bit like high sevens. You're like, some people got a 7.625. So right now I'm seeing a lot of those people come through my pipeline, and those make sense. Right now you can maybe get a mid sixes with some points, which I don't hate that for some people. But again, everyone's situation is different. You got to have these high level conversations with, who you're working with.
So Becky, here's a problem that I'm going to have. And I'm always looking to solve the problem. The problem I'm going to have is that rates might tick down a little bit. So what happens is then every lender, this is a public service announcement for every lender out there, don't lie to your clients. Why do I say that? Because you're going to tell them the rates have come down, they're going to continue to come down, and you don't know where rates are going to go.
They're pretty flat right now.
Stop lying to your clients. Stop telling them that they're going to continue to go down, because you don't know. All right. Any stockbroker tells you the stock's going way up, or any mortgage person tells you rates are going way down. Stop with that already.
Yeah.
So don't do it.
Harry, let me ask Becky, rule of thumb, and you nailed that you said every situation's different. What is rule of thumb, general rule of thumb, at what point do you say, hey, it's time to refinance? Is it that half point? Is it a full point? Or everybody's different?
Well, it is. Everybody is different because it depends on how much money we could save you.
Yep.
And then how long are you going to stay in the house for to recoup some of the costs, if not all the costs? So there's a math equation that you have to do. How much am I saving a month? How much is it going to take me to recoup the cost? How long am I going to stay in the house? So we have to break that down. And then we say, is it worth saving a couple $100s a month? And here's your recoup. You're going to recoup it over a 12-month period of time. And you could save $200 a month. You're going to be in the house for 5 years. The answer, without question, is yes, you should do it.
Yeah, and you have to do like the deep dive. So I'm going to give you two different scenarios, and these two different scenarios are very fresh in my mind because I have them. I had them last night because I was working till like 10 o'clock last night as I'm doing my outline.
You and me both.
Yes. So we never stop working, but these are real life scenarios, right? So We had someone that was at a 7.625 interest rate. The price point, they bought the house at 480. I looked at the research. They put 20% down. There's equity in the home, and there's enough room for us to refinance at that higher price point to drive them down a full percentage point in their situation, and they're saving $300 a month. That makes sense, and we're going to do that. We looked at it short term, long term. It makes sense for right now. Even if the rates improve 2 years from now or a year from now, we're still going to be in a lateral position where we can maybe refinance one more time, slide that rate down, and reduce the cost in that kind of situation. So that's option number one. Yeah. Number two, a higher rate. Someone had an 8.5 interest rate specifically, okay, but it was a $100,000 loan that they took out. There also was a second that's forgivable after 5 years that they didn't know they had. So once I did the deep dive and I found out they had a second mortgage that was silent and it was forgivable after X amount of years, looking at that savings, they weren't even really going to save $75 because I would have had to pay back that second mortgage. And in that one, it didn't make sense because the loan amount where it was at, it was not going to do them any service to have to now tack on $10,000 that they wouldn't have to pay back in the next couple of years. Now, if the rates were dramatically different, to me, that would have been a good play. But we talked about both options, and ultimately it's going to be their decision. But those are, two things where it's like, yes, it makes sense and no, it doesn't, because it is so situational. Just because the interest rate's high doesn't mean I'm going to oversell something because it sounds cool because the media said.
Yeah. There's a cliche and I love it. And it's so true. It's experience trumps education. But with you two, I can speak on Dominic on my behalf. You get the best of both worlds. You got that tenureship with the experience, and you're educating that client. So it's a beautiful formula to have for all of us. Yeah. We're giving them the best of both worlds with the education because we've done it for so long, and obviously the track record. Capital Mortgage has been around since '92. You've been doing loans for 20 years. You get the best of both worlds. It's so spot on when I hear you guys speak about that.
Yeah. No, I appreciate that, and but we take pride. I'm going to talk to people like. That if I wasn't in this business, I know we're all the same way, I'm going to speak to someone how I'd want someone to treat my family if I couldn't be there to protect them. And when I got in the business in 2004, it really was like the boiler room. I'm in the room with a bunch of these guys and I'm like, oh my God, like that's my grandma you're talking to, right? And, when you learn how to operate with a moral integrity, that is not something that anyone can take away from you. And I know all of you gentlemen in this room are exactly the same way.
So we'll talk to people and I'll basically tell them, I don't think you should do it. Yeah. I'll say, I don't think you should do it. I don't think it makes sense. And then they get their back up, say, well, what do you mean? Why are you
they get offended.
Why are you telling me no? And I'll say, well, I'm going to break it out for you and I'm going to show you why I don't think this is a good idea for you. Or I'll say, if on the other side, flip side, I'll say, why is this a good idea? It's a good idea to give up your 4% rate because you've got $70,000 in credit card debt and you have equity in your home. And no, we don't want to use your house as a piggy bank. However, you're making $1,500, $1,600, $1,700 in credit card payments, and I could save you half of that if you do it this way. So you're going to save $800, $900 a month. And there's only one pile of money. The pile of money that you bring in your house every month on what you make, and then what you go ahead and you pay out. If I could save you half of what you're paying out, wouldn't you do that deal?
Yeah.
And they say yes.
And Harry, just think about the emotional connection piece with what you just said when you tell somebody no.
The loyalty.
Because it makes financial sense for them to wait 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, or a year.
Yeah.
The relationship that you have with that client, that's a big piece of why you guys are winning and connecting with that client. It's one thing I stated earlier. We've told a lot of clients no during those hard times of the $50K over appraisal gaps. It didn't make financial sense.
No. Why are you going to deplete your liquid assets to, granted, in some situations, let me go backwards. When you look at the appreciation, yes, that did make sense in some situations. But when you are scraping by to make that happen, you got to look at where that money's coming from and what is it going to be doing for you. Granted, no one's got a crystal ball. But the truth of the matter is that everyone was bragging about the 3% interest rate that they locked in, but they weren't bragging about the fact that they can barely afford their house. Yeah. Because the tax is uncapped. That $700,000 buyer really was a $500,000 buyer, and they overbought because they didn't have the right counsel, like Bernard and Dominic, right? They were not in the right wing, like they're under the right wings of people protecting them. But the truth of the matter is that people have been refinancing. They've never stopped. Even when the rates were the lowest they've ever been, and even now when they went up, where they're like last year in spring, when they're highest, people have always been refinancing behind the scenes because we know how to identify when it's right to make the move and when it's not. And home equity lines of credit, became in vogue too, but those don't make sense either sometimes. You have to look at the total picture, and you can do a home equity line of credit if that makes sense for you, but those are sometimes in the double digits. But if you are in a situation and you need to reduce your overall cash flow, increase your overall cash flow, just have the conversation, but have the conversation with the right people. And you're going to know the difference because you're going to hear the difference, you're going to see the difference, and you're going to feel the difference in the conversations when you're talking to someone like Dominic and Bernard, even when you're doing like new construction and real estate, and even if you're not.
True. And I think to your guys' point about being offended, they might get offended, but I think 90% of the time you earn their loyalty after a while, after you give them a good breakdown of things so they understand you're looking out for them.
Listen, there's a reason why Capital Mortgage has been around as long as we have been, and we have the deep rooted, to the community business that we have, and that's why you guys are the same exact way. So we're up to our last break, or one of our last breaks here. So keep it locked in, the Hardcore Mortgage Show, 248-539-9797. Yeah, I know you're in the frozen tundra, but we want to hear from you. Let's go. Welcome back to the Hardcore Mortgage Show, brought to you by Capital Mortgage Funding, MLS number 1820, powered by CMG. I'm so excited. This was like an action-packed hour. We always talk about how fast it goes, but it really is just understated. How quickly it goes, because it's just so much information that we try to pack. And when you have Bernard and Dominic in here, I thank you, gentlemen, for being in here with us, sharing your knowledge to all of our listeners, because after the show, we always get the texts and they always hit us up. So even if the phone lines aren't blowing up, people are listening. Awesome. And so I thank you for your time for sure.
Thanks for having us.
So I want to get into a few things that we have some events coming up that you guys are going to be a part of. I'm going to be a part of that too. So we're, and you guys will be doing your live podcast. So anyone that's in the industry, real producers, what do we got going on?
March 5th, Park West Gallery. Real Producers will be putting on an event. We did it last year. We were invited again this year. We'll have the same booth. Come by for the Q&A, and if you have some hot takes on the industry or thoughts on it, me and Bernard will be there. for the whole thing.
Yeah, it's a
super
great
fun.
event. It has the top talent in Oakland County. That's why you're going to be there, Becky.
Yep.
That's why we'll be there. We're excited about that. Realtors come by. They chat it up and they give us some advice about the market. And it's always good to see everybody and kind of share some ideas.
Good networking, yeah.
Yes, and it's like one of those things like where we do this, we take it for granted, but when you can be in the room with like the top at the top, the leader of the among leaders, in the room in those kind of moments, and I appreciate Tara and Real Producers and what that platform they've done to really shine a light on the best of the best. And it's gonna be at Park West, so stop by there, say hi. They're gonna be raffling off vacations and artwork and all the things. It was really fantastic when they did it last time, so definitely check that out. You can check it out on our socials too. We'll be pushing that for them. And then my man Bernard, so he's gonna be in a competition, Road to October Best. They're doing this quarterly event. And that is going to be March 20th at the Garden Theater.
That's right. That's right. And if luck should have it, maybe a little bit of good karma here, hoping to follow in your path, Becky. I know you made it to the finals last year. I thought you had won, in my opinion. But yeah, it's an awesome competition. It's going to be 16. First round is going to be 16 top producers from the mortgage and real estate industry. It's going to be one-on-one handling objectives and going back and forth. And so we're super excited about that. When you're on stage, when you're in the moment, it's good to get the.
My palms are getting sweaty right now. I'm not even on it.
It's
good.
fun.
Well, and you made it to the finals. So we're excited about that. Snap Homes is hosting that. That's at the Garden Theater, as you mentioned. That's March 20th. It's always good to be in a room with a like-minded, top producing people such as ourselves and the people out there.
So how does this translate to the consumer? I'm going to tell you how it translates to the consumer. When you go to these events, and realtors are getting together and everybody in the industry is in one room. When you have a transaction and it comes across their desk and somebody is familiar with the realtor on the other side, all right, that works out very well because they know the transaction is going to go smooth. They know the offer presented is a legitimate offer. They know the lender you're working with is a legitimate lender, and they know the other side is going to really take a look at it. So it's really, there's an old adage, it's not what you know, it's who you know. In this industry, in any industry, if people know each other in the industry and they've had transactions, light transactions together, that offer is more likely to be looked on in a favorable light. Listen, I don't make the rules. That's just the way it is out there. Mm-hmm. So if somebody's familiar with somebody, they're going to get the deal done, right, Becky? And if you want a deal done, give it to a busy person. If you want something done, give it to somebody that's busy.
Yes, it's a difference between being busy and productive, but that really is the truth of, that's where the collaboration versus competition comes into play, right? Because, the same people are going to be are in the rooms all the time, but at the end of the day, when I see your name or you see my name on a pre-approval, you're like, I know that's worth the piece of paper that it's written on. Who you work with matters.
100%. When you have that peace of mind of knowing a Becky and a Harry that's doing the loan on the other end, and you educate your seller on that, that might be worth more its weight than actually the top offer of getting a pre-approval, of getting a lender that's going to push this thing through and communicate from start to finish. And that's an absolutely awesome
love
point,
it.
Harry.
Clients love that their loan officer or their mortgage that they're using, and and you're connecting with them and you're calling them without having a middleman through them. So they enjoy it a ton. I know.
And there's a reason why, like, if you we were talking about the stats, like, the number of loan officers has dramatically decreased. It's down to like 93,000. I think there was like over 200,000 in 2020. But what does that tell you? That just shows that like people that we're in it for the long game. We've been in it for a long time. We're going to still continue to be be here when it's all said and done because we take pride in what we're doing. We're not just here just because it was showy and it was easy, because we actually appreciate the hard. I like it when it's a little bit like when it's more difficult, because that's when you separate the players from the pretenders.
And can I just say something about that? I think there's a lot of people that can get lucky for a short period of time. But real success is measured when we can do more for others than anybody else can do for them. There's no other way to do it. When we find a way to add more value to our clients' lives, and when we add that value, you gain superiority in the marketplace. And when you have superiority in the marketplace, you're undefeated. The rest is history. And I think that's been the theme here today.
Yeah, I mean, that's the mentality of a winner, right? A leader, even in life, right? Even just not even talk about mortgages and real estate, right? A leader sees reality. They don't just sugarcoat it, and they're going to find the possibilities within reality. And everyone's reality is different, and you have to find what is going to make it work for you. It's circumstantial. And so whether you're trying to buy a house or you're trying to build your real estate portfolio and you want to buy 10 properties in 5 years, that comes with a game plan. And even if you're just trying to get through the day, make a game plan, write it down, because everyone's situation is different. Sometimes the biggest smiles have the biggest heart and the biggest pain sometimes, but just you don't have to do it alone. Whether you're buying a house or not buying a house, just reach out to the right people that affect you.
Well, you got to be able to.
in a positive way.
You have to be able to connect with people, right? So whatever your connection is, and they make you feel good or like you're being properly serviced, that you can go ahead and you can get that service from that individual. They're returning your calls promptly. They're showing up early for meetings. They're doing whatever they need to do to earn your trust.
Oh, yeah.
Ultimately, you've got to be able to feel that, right? What's the old saying? It's how you make people feel.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
And people will remember how you make them feel in any situation. So if you're not feeling good about something, you better reevaluate. But if somebody's making you feel good about it, but then they have to show you. It's actions speak louder than words at that point in time.
Yeah.
So you have to be able to connect, and you have to be able to come through with people. And if somebody's constantly giving you the yes, if I can't.
So speaking of that, okay, so with all the knowledge that we have in this room, before, as we wrap it up, what is one thing? So if you could rewind the tape, fast forward the tape, what's one thing that you feel the average consumer should know that is not emphasized enough right now?
I think it's been the theme today. There's no question about it. It's just getting the educational piece on if the market makes sense for them, whether it's buying or selling. If it makes financial sense, I think a lot of people are intimidated by what they hear on the media or in the news. I think if they sit down and they have that conversation with people who have been in the business and understand their situation specifically, have that conversation. It doesn't mean it might be the right time, but at least you have a plan and a strategy moving forward. Just get the knowledge and do what makes financial sense for you, whether it's buying or selling. Pretty simple.
Yeah, I love that. What about you?
I'm with it. Coaching and education. We've become
Yeah.
coaches and educators over time. And it is because of social media and the things they see on the TV and on their phones. And someone's tweeting or typing something about their horrible experience, and now it's a horrible experience all of a sudden to buy a house. But if you were to sit down and there's a ton of layers to it, and you give them a good breakdown of the layers and connect with them, like how you said earlier, it goes miles for the client, and they get a better understanding. They might take a night. They might think they're offended, but then when they sit back and look, we were looking out for their best interests.
But Dominic, can I ask you this? Can I be bad Harry in the room for a second? I got to be bad Harry
Let's
for
see
one
Bad
second.
Harry.
Everything you see on social media, come on, is that real? I mean, that's not real. That's not real. All the good stuff, everybody's this, everybody's that. Come on.
It's satire.
I mean, is that real?
Social media satire. You can't take it. You can't take it to the bank all the time. Maybe friends that you know, possibly. But if you were to sit down and talk and look deeper into their posts of why they did it, and they could be mad at the time or angry of what they posted about their real estate agent or about their LO or whatever it is. I think social media is a lot of satire. It's
but they're not going to tell you the real story. They're going to tell you their side of the story. And maybe, and I hate to say it, everybody, like this bad Harry coming out, 8th grade Harry's coming out right this second. All right. They're telling you it might not be true. All right. Maybe they did something to go ahead and get that reaction that they got from somebody. And you know what? The customer's not always right. You don't treat people properly. If you're rude to people and that customer's rude, MFing everybody. Did I say that over the radio? You can't treat people poorly and then go on social media and say they're bad people.
Yeah. Come to the source.
Maybe you're the bad person.
Yeah.
Sure.
So that's what I'm saying. So when everything on social media and all these reviews and this and 5-star and or no star. No, maybe you did something to get treated that way.
Sure.
Anybody ever think about that?
I think we need more Bad Harry.
You don't want bad hair. You don't.
That's why
right.
it's called the Hardcore Morning Show.
And
That's
just
why
one
it's
last
called the
piece on
hardcore.
there. There's just so
Right?
much. There's so much perception. There's so
Yeah,
much
it is.
perception.
That's a good way to put it. Yeah.
There's so much perception, and so if you're somebody that's really tuned into that social media, do your research on your lender. Do your research on your real estate agent. Look at the facts and hire that person that you feel best qualified. It's that simple.
Yeah. I mean, like we said, like you're going to hear the difference. You're going to see the difference. You're going to feel the difference. And if you have, you can have your credit pulled more than one time. So there's a 45-day window where if we did a hard pull, you can have your credit pulled by another lender. Now, am I going to say, do I want you to have your credit pulled by 10 different people? No. But do I want you to have another conversation with somebody? Okay, I'm fine with that because I know you're going to come right back and have a conversation with me because I'm not a stranger. Right? Why would you work with a stranger just because you clicked a bunch of buttons when you can work with someone that's high level, knows what they're talking about, and is going to help facilitate, right? This is a highly skilled market and a highly competitive market. You have to be highly skilled professionals in a highly competitive market. You're talking about you're building a business ship with someone, a partnership with someone, a relationship with someone. And it's Valentine's weekend, so let's get in the love boat, get in these so we can navigate these waters for you because you don't have to do it alone. Like Harry often says, why walk the plank alone? And people think you can do it on your own. Yes. Can you sell a house by yourself? Yeah. Do you need to? No. Should you? No.
You're going to get less money if you sell it.
20% less.
You're going to get less money.
Last year's stat,
You're gonna get
20% less if you sell your home by for
Why
sale
would you
by
do
owner.
that?
I mean,
I don't want to pay the commission, right? And that became very taboo, but you get what you pay for because you're professional and you know what you're looking for. Also, the certain cities, are there private city inspections? Is someone asking you for concessions? I talked to someone that was attempting to sell their house on their own and they were so overwhelmed with the amount of information that they ended up hiring the real estate agent anyway.
Yeah.
It happens a lot. I'm not saying they think they know better, the average consumer, but we live this. You were up till what time last night doing work?
Yeah,
you
10.
were up till what time last night doing work?
I'll
You live